What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? This is Democracy Manifest.
Welcome back to The Struggle.
On the program this week, civil unrest in Bangladesh, danger in Dhaka, and Olympic athletes doing their best to get high in every way.
Loosen your jaw, roll back those peepers, and open wide for another steaming serve of struggle in a jam-packed episode.
First, the recent stock market crash. It is estimated that $6.5 trillion has been erased from the US stock market, bringing up fears that we may all go into a recession.
Now, the last time we saw a once-in-a-lifetime recession was in 2008 when Heath Ledger died and Michael Jackson was still alive, although that was a depression.
Oh, yes, and the global financial crisis. That was a bit of a downer, but what we lacked in money, we had in culture. Gaga, Kesha, Jersey Shore.
Australia avoided it last time and we're not letting it get us this time.
Let's hear from our Doomsday Prepper on how the hell we do this.
Our lazy American cousins have let their procrastinating ways get the better of them, and by extension, the entire world, once again. The economic devastation previously thought to be upon us, once out of the smog of COVID, has been effectively kicked down by the proverbial road by way of zany new stimulus packages, political excitement, and general economic good vibes. For your average John and Jane spend and save, these imminent economic conditions spells a dark and dangerous financial future, which Trump also predicts.
And when there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months.
But for an economic doomsday prepper like myself, the prospect of hacking and slashing my way through a recession wasteland conjures feelings of joy and excitement. I've spent the past several years hoarding inflation-proof Bowie knives and cans of cream stimulus packages in preparation for the darkness that lies ahead. And with several currencies expected to enter freefall, including the once humble Aussie dollar, you all might want to prepare yourselves.
Wow, for a story that was meant to be 9 years in the making about something really important, it sure was over quick. Some journalists they were.
So, now another story that only emerges from an incubus cocoon of news every 4 years. The Olympic Games also marked the return of gender on the sporting field.
Here to help us tease coherent thought from the spaghetti of misogyny and binary, here's sex correspondent Dr. Violette X. Davis.
The viewership for women's sport has grown exponentially over the past few decades, but discrepancies in the coverage of the uniforms between men and women demonstrates the prevailing sexist nature of the Games. The US track and field uniforms, designed by Nike, have faced criticism for covering very little of the female athletes' bodies, whilst men are covered modestly. In 2024, the time has come for our society to stop forcing the patriarchal lens upon our bodies. As global citizens and as feminists, there is only one solution. We need to start sexualizing men. For the sake of equality, it is essential that men and women are sexualized equally. And unfortunately, men just aren't being objectified as much as they should be. Thankfully, early pioneers are making huge leaps into this new era of fifth-wave feminism. When a French pole vaulter was disqualified for a dick-to-pole collision, it was a loss to the French medal count, but a win for feminism, as audiences finally have the chance to perv on a man the way they would a woman. After decades of yawning at men's gymnastics routines with no pizzazz, wearing shorts halfway down their thighs, and not one man successfully qualifying for the synchronized swimming, enough is enough. The gender gap has never been wider than when the few heroic men to attempt artistic swimming simply lacked the experience being shamelessly gawked at, placing them at a disadvantage. Our suffragette mothers jumped in front of horses to secure our vote, and now we must uphold their legacy. So make those thirst trap edits, catcall the tradies on your way to work, and encourage the men in your life to rock a G-string. All in the name of equality.
Mercy buckets. August 4th saw the outbreak of anti-government protests in Bangladesh, leaving nearly 100 people dead.
Bangladeshi leader Sheikh Hasina was evacuated on a military helicopter to India before Bangladeshis broke into her private home.
For a less serious look at a collapsing state, we've sorted through the recent happenings to answer the question, what's her crime? Being a nepo baby, girl boss, or a plain old dictator?
Hey, recently Bangladesh knocked off Maghreb factor Sheikh Hasina has resigned and Bangladesh out of the country. You know, like democratically appointed leader always tend to do. All this because one passport protect asking for not every government official to be a nepo baby rolled into nationwide routine. So with the Bangladesh state in shambles, here's a look back on the good, the bad, and the girl boss of Sheikh Hasina's range of pain. Number 1, she lasted multiple decades in the top job. Girl boss! Number 2, silencing the opposition. No, sex. Number 3, inheriting the job for daddy. Ew. Number 4, Turkey deal suitcase. That's just over the line. In my opinion, she's just someone who girl boss too close to the sun.
So, it's clearly been a big week for princesses, subcontinental and Midwestern alike, as current Vice President Kamala Harris finally announced her running mate for the 2024 US election, maybe soon-to-be Vice President Tim Walz. This marks an important moment for the vice presidential dynasty. If elected, Walz will be Obama's vice president's vice president's vice president.
It's almost like the Kennedys, except with less gunshots, less Hollywood starlet murders, and less questionable fatal car crashes.
Unfortunately for us, though, also less Jack Schlossberg. He's a Kennedy too. A live one.
Someone with both a social security number and is a former US deportee is Zedthi.
Hi, you pseudo-fascist fuck.
Hi, you irrelevant spinsters.
So no one here actually knows who Tim Walz is. Who is this white man?
Well, Tim Walz is the current governor of Minnesota. For anyone watching who doesn't know where Minnesota is or is only just learning of its existence as a state, it's the one that looks like the hat on a chef holding a tray of chicken. Minnesota is cold and best known for the accents Australians stumble upon when they're trying to mock Canadians, hockey, yeah, as well as Nickelodeon boy band Big Time Rush.
Well, that is a fascinating biography of the state of Minnesota. The actual question was about Governor Walz.
Right. Well, while Minnesota is not technically a swing state for the upcoming election, it's good fun for the Harris ticket to run a progressive who is attuned to the average voter and has an adorable picture of him ice fishing like that one game in Club Penguin.
In the name of Sarah Ferguson, could you please just answer the question?
Fine. This is unironically a great choice for Harris. Walz has a long history of enacting progressive policies, such as making sure elementary school children don't starve, and thinking gay people deserve rights, even in the 90s when it wasn't cool to be gay yet.
Well, that's nice to hear that someone in politics isn't proactively campaigning for the mantle of worst person alive.
Yeah, in fact, it almost seems unrealistic. What's the downside here with Mr. Walz?
Y'all are so judgmental. Walz is a man that contains multitudes. He's not just some crazy leftist nutjob. He's also a high school football coach, as well as a gun owner and a retired army veteran. This is in contrast to JD Vance, who is not any of those things.
So, this is just looking like an all-round positive for the Democratic Party?
Yeah, the whole party's kind of killing it right now, except for Biden.
Right. So what does this mean for come November?
Well, this is all really exciting, but the Dems can't let their guard down yet. RFK Jr., Jack Schlossberg's uncle, is still running and making headlines for hit and running a bear. Between that and the felon and couch fucker duo, it's really a tough competition. So God bless the troops, and back to you all in the studio.
We're still in the studio, babes. Back with more after someone pays for this time.
Are you a 1%er who cares a little too much about what those slimy middle classes are up to? Are you interested in what's happening in elementary school libraries? Do you feel a need to bring up race in every single conversation? Are you obsessing on what's going on in people's pants? Well, I hate to break it to you, but in the famous words of Tim Walz, you're weird. Don't worry, we have a solution for you. Call this number now to receive a free lobotomy. 1-800-YOU'RE-WEIRD. That's 1-800-YOU'RE-WEIRD.
Welcome back.
Many of us grew up being ill-informed by agony aunt columns such as the iconic Dolly Doctor and its overuse of the words moist and fuparot. But as Prince suffers a slow death, these staples of the journalism landscape now have nowhere to go.
So we at The Struggle kindly offer a little life raft to keep the supply of sage, albeit unqualified advice flowing.
Tonight we have a new segment, Tell Me Tamsin, where a student with no real qualifications attempts to solve your problems. Welcome to the studio, Tamsin.
Thank you. I am here to help.
Perfect, because we have sourced a dilemma for you from our dear viewers.
Okay, so what do we have here? Dear Tamsin, I have someone in my life, let's call them Collingwood, who keeps making the same mistake and just won't change. Okay, yes, this is sounding like a classic case of a toxic boyfriend, a stubborn sister. I can see where this is going. So basically, several times over the past few years, Collingwood has been caught being pretty much straight up racist.
Ooh, okay, we've taken a bit of a turn here.
At first it was allegations on Twitter, then an embarrassing internal report leak, and just when I was finally starting to trust again, oh, babes, a former employee has made brand new claims, and it sounds nasty. They say slurs and even physical abuse was involved, allegedly. And what's worse, they were a cultural affairs officer at the club. So tell me, Tamsin, what do I do? Can Collingwood be forgiven? Wow, okay, a lot going on here. Babes, you cannot take them back. The Pies have followed the well-trodden path of a classic toxic ex. They say they were sorry and would reflect, launching several internal investigations, but quickly returned to form. They made an effort in distancing themselves from the mates that keep getting them in trouble. You know, that guy who stood down as president after systemic racism was found at the club, but claimed likening an Indigenous player, Adam Goodes, to King Kong was a slip of the tongue. But now, they've turned to blind denial in a last-ditch effort to get you back on side. You can do better. I hear Hawthorn is available and ready to mingle.
I think we might have to leave that one there.
Well, thank you, Tamsin.
Thanks, guys. Look, for any more advice, please check out my blog at tellmetamsin.com. Send in your worries and your woes.
Hey Laura, what do you hate?
Besides that hideous blazer that you're wearing,
Rough.
not as rough as the working conditions at the Shein factory.
Whoa. Okay, well, our funk correspondent entered the public domain to see what people who don't hate me hate.
Recently, the Australian government has lifted the terror threat, claiming young people are at risk of online radicalisation. Today, I hit the streets to see what young people hate the most and how far they're willing to go for their cause. What has the internet made you hate?
I think the internet has actually made me hate the internet.
Mansplaining.
Probably like porn and porn culture is like one of the biggest things that like has like festered on the internet that really like irks me.
I guess you could say like body expectations. Like I look through my Instagram reels and stuff and it's just like people at the gym and like when I just makes me feel lazy, like I should be doing something else.
So many things. I'd say first and foremost like diet culture and just like your relationship with food and just the way that it's like targeted to especially make like women feel less than if they're not like a specific body type. I think that's something we all struggle with.
So the Australian government thinks that young people are basically going to do horrible things with the things that they hate on the internet. What do you say to that? How far would you go for a cause that you hate so much?
Me personally, like I wouldn't use the internet to like take something like that too far, but like I know that people can definitely abuse it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not very vocal, I'm more just like a behind the screen, like silent observer.
I'll actually save my time and I won't do anything about it. I'm just gonna stop using it. That's the best way.
I guess just for me, like I would just block those accounts or just stop looking.
Yeah, I definitely would protest, 100%. I would go to lengths to talk about it. Yeah, for sure.
Amid the Australian youth becoming more violent and hateful, let's now turn to Tasmania, Victoria's perfectly innocent and unsuspecting little brother.
Our intern, himself proudly Tasmanian born and inbred, has the story.
Tasmania has a bit of a history with youth crime. Most of it bad. The rest, a lot worse. But it really shouldn't be all that surprising. After all, the only choices for young Tasmanians like me are crime or hopping the border. So, what gives? For ages, people have been getting fired up about the threat to the community these kids pose. and what a failure youth detention is, because it keeps getting worse. Fortunately, these full-grown men, who could most certainly take several of the pre-pubescent window smashes in a fight, are sleeping easy after a recent announcement. Tas Police have reported their Special Operations Group has doubled in size and gone full-time. Now active for a 40-hour working week, even covering some out-of-school hours, the police will critically shorten an ankle biter's window of opportunity and deliver an unmatched number of slaps on the wrist. The only change I would have made to this unit is some skates, because from what I can tell, a lot of these kids are going to be on ice.
Chuffing and chugging north from a state existing without a metropolitan train service to a story of a state existing despite a metropolitan train service. Our own Leah Roboto found herself caught in a funk this week.
Swept up in a wave of righteous hatred, Leah hit the streets to get to the bottom of what on earth is going on with our trains.
As a student and broadcaster, I have an intimate relationship with our public transport system. But I'm sure I won't be the first to tell you that the price of a daily train trip has become untenable for many passengers. For a smooth criminal like myself, price has never been an issue. Not that I can't afford to touch on, I just can't stand to use those wretched Mikeys. So when the news broke last year that Mikey's operator, NTT Data, was due to finish its contract with the state government last November, I practically jumped with joy. Most exciting in this news for me was the knowledge that Victoria would become the last state to adopt debit card tap and go on public transport. And I don't want to get any letters in the struggle PO box from weepy Android users saying you've had this feature for years, because I don't care. So, come last December, you can
imagine my shock
when we were met not with a death notice for Mikey, but with the most vague and banal press release ever put to print. Mikey cards weren't going anywhere anytime soon. Instead, PTV promised a number of potential features that were due to come out when they are ready. All that was 8 months ago. So clearly, while our Queensland cousins are stuck with fixed 50-cent fares on public transport, we Victorians are trapped indefinitely in a system that's outdated, dilapidated, and costing commuters as much as $10 a day. This is Leo Roboto reporting from outside.
Hover on, not touch on. Powerful stuff.
Hover on to these ads.
It's what everyone has been waiting for. Your favourite Melbourne suburb has just released their very own monopoly.
Fitzroy?
No.
Broadmeadows?
Forget it. It's Frankston. Got jumped in free parking? Give each player $50 and your shoes. Go to jail. Do not pass Centrelink. Do not collect Job Seeker. The game everyone wants to get their hands on. Bought property in Frankston North, stepped on a used needle, got addicted to heroin and spent 3 turns in Frankston Police Station before dying of tetanus. 10 out of 10. Love this game. Get it in stores today.
Tunes to tracks, dust to dust.
In Oz music's failure, we can always trust.
That's why it was all such a good surprise
to hear that the Jays are back on the rise.
That's right, Triple J's One Night Stand is back to rock.
Here with more is Minji Woodstock.
Youth broadcaster Triple J has announced the return of the One Night Stand Festival after a 5-year hiatus. Once again, the Jays are pulling down their Australian broadcasting chaps, bending over a regional town and penetrating their tightly puckered watering holes with self-absorbed, horse-huffing hipsters and faux indie music. With over 2,000 countries on the Jays' smash lists, they set their eyeballs on slutty little Warrnambool, the rock capital of Victoria. Ice rock, that is. Being a town notorious for trafficking of illicit substances and locals who love sucking on the old crystal pipe, it's the perfect place for Triple J's drug and alcohol-free family event. With 15,000 tickets being sold in less than 24 hours, equal to just under half the population of the city, Warrnamboolians are fearing a violent influx of Melbourne-based conflict impregnating their simple country lifestyle. So if you're planning on cruising fast, make sure you bring some protection, whether that's condoms or knuckle dusters. So as Triple J comes and runs on Warrnambool this year, it leaves us all wondering which town will find themselves getting railed by next year's One Night Stand.
I've got many a cherished memory of being curled up on the blanket under the stars, listening to the sweet songs of Gen X stars like Tism, Custard and Mrs. Higgins.
Wait, how old are you, Laura?
As old as I need to be, hun. But not yet old enough for any of that sweet NDIS pocket money. Unlike the luckiest woman in student journalism, NDIS correspondent Disability Babe.
Australian government, why do you hate me? But more specifically, why do you hate disabled people? After the Disability Royal Commission gave Labor 222 recommendations, they only accepted 13. That's less than 6%. Quick maths! Not only was Labor 4 months late to responding, but they also failed to accept the key recommendation presented to them. Otherwise, they would be supporting the plan to end segregation for us disability babes in areas of employment, schooling and housing. The most Labor has decided to do is review and modernise the Disability Discrimination Act, continue programs that are already implemented and create a centre for employment that is too hard for me to say. This though is not good enough. Even our fellow disability babe Jordan Steele John is disappointed in you, Labor. Are we just too hard, Labor? Do we not get the equity that we deserve because we'll be able to live like able-bodied Australians? Or are you scared that once we get the equity we're entitled to, we'll be able to replace Bill Shorten as NDIS Minister with someone who, I don't know, has a disability? Come on, Labor, ramp up. What happened to Solidarity Forever?
Are you sure you're actually deaf?
What?
For a more in-depth look at this story, an extended transcript can be found on our website at www.thestruggleazerbaijan.monash.az.
Another thought-provoking story there, old friend.
Oh, darling, we're not friends. Haven't you heard? Everyone who's anyone's replacing boring old organic friends like yourselves with more caring, attentive and compassionate companions.
Wait, you don't mean...
Here's Cushy Van Winkle to explain.
Welcome to Surely Not, where we expose the questionable things that make you go, surely not. On today's segment, we're talking tech bros and the new lows.
Woo! I don't know how to woo very good. That's fair. All right, let's go.
Sorry, I got you messy.
I've never brought anybody else. I mean, besides her.
She goes everywhere with you, right?
What was this trailer for? A raunchy new A24 horror short film, B, the new season of Black Mirror, or C, a genuine advertisement for anti-loneliness necklaces? I know, surely not. After experiencing loneliness epidemic in Japan, Harvard dropout developer Avi thought the spell felt a kind of isolation known only to the people of Japan. His solution? A pendant that listens to your every word, texts you in real time, and makes you look like a loser. For the skibbity toilet heads and the Roblox players that want to be even more ostracized, you can find out more on the domain that Avi paid $1.8 million for. As yet, the website is the only product that these companionship creators have been able to offer to consumers. But when they say a friend in need is a friend indeed, they don't actually mean needy. That's been Surely Not.
Moving swiftly from that game show to the game we can't show, the Olympic Games wrapped up yesterday.
Here to wrap up the Olympics in a different way is our resident teen heartthrob band, MC Sam and the Aurora Light Show. Take us out.
Are you happy to be in Paris? Miss Celine, back on the scene. Heavy metal, headless scream. Controversial, The Last Supper. Go-go, gaga, feather, boa.
Cardboard bags and daily arch. What about manage a toi? At least there's less chance of pink eye. Just avoid the scene, unlike this poor guy.
US gold for gymnastics. Simone's comeback, bloody fantastic. Beat the haters, lack of talent. They're just lazy Olympic champions.
They're so shooting, bro, the fans. Kim Ye-ji, Turkish hitman. Oh my god, I wanna meet them. Got a train time for brace band.
Olympics, yeah, I'll watch it. Past my bedtime, yeah, what of it? Gotta know what happens, gotta get my fix. Don't wanna see the end of Paris Olympics.
Frenchman Vero Power Bosch. Another folks takes home a gold. So that it was pretty well. The Egyptian fencer was 7 months with child.
Italian boxer, up in arms. when opponent threw her arm. A 46-second surrender after incorrectly assuming gender.
Chalky muffins, this guy was driving. German capture when moon diving. She won gold in badminton, then got asked if she wants to spend life with him.
Pommel horse guy came in third. Seems that people love a nerd. Iconic photo, mid-air freeze. How does one get sponsored by Parmesan cheese? Olympics, yeah, I'll watch it. Past my bedtime, yeah, what of it? Gotta know what happens, gotta get my fix. Don't wanna see the end of Paris Olympics. Olympics, yeah, I'll watch it. Past my bedtime, yeah, what of it? Gotta know what happens, gotta get my fix. Don't wanna see the end of Paris Olympics.
The struggle.
It's real.